Amazing.
Oh, thanks.
Amazing you didn't black out the entire Western Hemisphere.
Hmm?
You basically ripped a hole in the fabric of space-time with unspec'd components and no supervision.
Yeah, that was an accident.
And if by accident you upped the power, you would have created a runaway reaction that opened a black hole and swallowed the entire planet.
Well, I'm glad that didn't happen.
And in that clip, you see Susan Storm going over with Reed Richards the possible danger that Reed Richards posed with creating this interdimensional traveling machine in his garage as a kid. All right, and welcome to Cody and Joey Reviews. I am Cody.
I'm Joey.
And today we are discussing the new Fantastic Four 2015 reboot. Now, of course, I have mentioned in our Ant-Man review, I'm a huge Marvel fan, but this is not Marvel proper. Again, this movie is being made just like the other Fantastic Fours with 20th Century Fox, sort of revamping the property that they've obtained the rights from Marvel. And, what's your experience with Fantastic Four?
Well, I saw the original when it came out, I think 2006, around there. I didn't see The Rise of the Silver Surfer. The Fantastic Four franchise isn't really like my favorite Marvel property. But yeah, this film is made by 20th Century Fox, and basically like they just made this film just so they could keep the rights to Fantastic Four, which I think it's ridiculous because I think they just need to give it back to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think Cody will tell you more about it right now.
Oh, definitely. In the earlier days of Marvel's, they sort of went bankrupt in the 90s, basically, and they had to sell off the rights to the most of their characters, including X-Men, Spider-Man, Hulk initially, and Fantastic Four. And definitely, what you just said there, this movie is basically so that way they can hold on to the rights. They started filming this movie right before the rights went back to Marvel. And boy, does it feel like it. I mean, it's hard to sort of discuss this movie with an entry point because this movie is so all over the place. I mean, if you've paid attention to the hype of this film, you know it's notoriously bad. And honestly, I agree with most of the hype. I mean, you can just tell in most of the movies where the director wanted to go and where 20th Century Fox wanted to go. I mean, literally this movie stops halfway through the movie of what it was doing and changes direction completely. I mean, it's one of the worst examples of a studio tampering with the film, and Josh Trank has been very, he's been very public about sort of what 20th Century Fox has done with this film, and in this movie is very evident. Obvious reshoots, Sue Storm's hair changes, constantly through the film, different colors. It's just terrible.
Yeah, I mean, beginning to end, you have horrible editing. I mean, you have these cheap fade effects where, the screen just turns to black and then you get to the next scene. I mean, they do that consistently. The first maybe 1/3 of the movie starts to seem interesting. You kind of start to build up this concept of, Miles Teller teaming up with everybody else and the big science factory. But then it just goes all the way down to hell. I mean, as soon as you get everybody to get their powers, it jumps to a year, and it just shows them, happy and, able to work for the government. And then, we wait about 1 hour and 45 minutes, 1 hour and 30 minutes, and then we get one 10-minute action scene, which is so lame, and they use this stupid dialogue towards each other. This is stuff that you would see in, direct-to-DVD movies.
Definitely. I mean, you talk about the editing, the pacing of this movie is very off. The first 50 minutes, it feels so labored. It's taking its time, but they don't use it very well. I mean, these characters, we want to get to know them so that way when they get these powers and it's horrific and all that, you want to feel sorry for them. But there are obvious scenes cut out of this film that would give you character development. And honestly, you sort of don't like the characters themselves. You don't hate them for the most part. I mean, they're just very undeveloped. I mean, they give shorthand, Reed Richards, he's sort of the nerdy scientist. Ben Grimm, he's sort of the tough guy because he had a mean older brother. Johnny Storm, he races and he seems like sort of just a troublemaker. But I think the one that really gets the short straw is Sue Storm. I mean, her character is very off-putting. She almost seems too cold to like, and you're supposed to feel this romance between her and Reed Richards, and it just comes off as lazy and really bad. I would just use the word bad here. And then the last 50 minutes of the movie, it's like they rush to sort of get to the end. Things sort of happen, convenience, and, basically before you know it, we're at the climax, and then the movie's over.
Yeah, I mean, once we got to the credits, I think both of us were kind of just shocked, like, that was it. I mean, they have, I think, as you mentioned, there's this really half-baked love triangle. I mean, they show maybe like a scene for like 15 seconds of them with maybe some kind of chemistry, but I mean, it was just really sad how they tried to execute it. And they also wasted the talent of these actors. I mean, Miles Teller is usually like a really charismatic actor. I mean, like if you give him good work, he can usually take advantage of it. But they really didn't give him like a personality to play Mr. Fantastic with this. Now, like Michael B. Jordan, I do look forward to seeing him play Apollo's son in the new movie Creed. I know that he has a lot of potential. I don't think he did so bad in this. But at the same time, I mean, I don't think that any of the characters were like well written enough to, warrant me recommending this to anybody.
Yeah, they definitely didn't give them enough. I mean, even the villain in this movie. I know Marvel proper, the Marvel Studio Films. I know their villains aren't really well developed. We talked about that with Ant-Man, how Yellow Jacket wasn't really that great of a villain.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this one is just awful. Like, he disappears halfway into the movie when they get their powers, and it's, he's not in the film throughout most of the second half, and then he just appears basically out of nowhere and then just sort of goes crazy, like, I want to destroy the world. Just awful portrayal of a very iconic comic book villain. I mean, yeah, you wouldn't recommend this movie to anyone. I wouldn't. Now, I wouldn't say it's as bad. I had to really think about this movie after I saw it. Had to think of, is it really that bad? The only superhero film that I can think of in the past 10 years that's worse than this one would be X-Men Origins Wolverine, made by the same studio who did this one. But really, this movie is just awful. I mean, it has to probably go down as one of my least favorite films of all time. Certainly the worst film I have seen this year, even more so than The Gallows and Terminator Genisys, because this movie had so much promise. It had a bigger budget, and it just had almost every opportunity fails. I would have to give it, I would like to give it no stars out of 5, but honestly, I do enjoy some of the stuff at the beginning. Obviously, it's playing off of David Cronenberg stuff, the whole body horror, what's happening to us, how terrible it is. Unfortunately, they don't spend enough time on it and, to sort of go into the climax and all that. So begrudgingly, I would have to give this movie 1 out of 5 stars. But honestly, don't go see this movie. It bombed at the box office, and in my opinion, deservedly so.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Like when I was thinking of like the worst superhero films, I thought of Batman and Robin. But, like, I mean, when I do think of that movie, at least I was laughing. I mean, you had Arnold, being him. And, I mean, you had these really campy set pieces. I mean, so it was so bad that it ended up being somewhat enjoyable. With this film, yeah, you get the first sequence, which sort of built on something. So that's why, I mean, I'm not going to give the movie 0 stars out of 5 because there was some parts that I enjoyed. But overall, I mean, by far, this is the worst film of 2015. Don't go see it. Don't waste your money. This is not a true Marvel film. There's no Stan Lee cameo. There's no post-credit scene. There's nothing like that. I think this movie already dropped like 69% at like the box office the second weekend. And I'm going to have to give the film a 1 star out of 5 as well.
Yeah, definitely a terrible movie. Don't go see it. Just spend your money somewhere else. Go see Ant-Man again.
Yeah.
I think that one was very enjoyable, but definitely 1 out of 5 stars for Fantastic Four.
Both of us, I think, wanted to see Ant-Man again right after we walked out.
Oh, definitely. Or any other movie,
any
honestly.
other movie, yeah.
All right, and thank you for joining us with Cody and Joey Reviews.
Stay tuned.